Myself and Rogers, we concur 100% on the main issue. And Mr. Rogers said in the program that the LB, the Landsbeslöjd, can have one date, but it can become effective or go into effect at a later date. And that he was a partisan of that point of view. I agree with him 100%. The reason for that is because I don't know if when you spoke to him, the LB had already come out. But the LB as it is an unconstitutional LB for the simple reason that between the date of the LB and the dissolution of Parliament, you have a time lapse of 4 months and 7 days. Whereas Article 2 of Article 59, Paragraph 2 of our Constitution says it should, between the dissolution of Parliament and the date of the LB, you should have a maximum of 3 months.
Can a Landsbeslöjd be retroactive?
It can be retroactive, but I will get to that. At the end of the program, I'll explain the confusion in that also.
I ask you that question.
Yeah, because that LB is a mass of confusion where that is concerned. It's a very, very poor job, and I've brought it to the attention of several people, and I will bring it to the attention of the governor also.
Why do you think there's so much confusion? Because the average person don't understand what's going on. And only the lawyers can understand this.
Yeah, it's a complex kind of maneuvering, but it's also very simple. Once you understand it, it's very simple. What's the point of departure?
Okay.
The first point of departure is that a Landsbeslöjd can have 2 dates. It can have the date of the Landsbeslöjd, and it can have an effective date, meaning the date at which it goes into effect, which is a very common thing in law. Almost every law Parliament passes is passed on January, but goes into effect in June. It's a very common thing that you postpone the effectiveness of a law, which means that until it becomes effective, it has no working, no legal consequences. So what happened in this particular case is that the government or the governor and the prime minister were confused or failed to take into account that you can have an LB date of October the 3rd, but it can become effective at a later date.
But then, Mr. Brison, because the whole issue of counting the 3 months seems to be a problem in the beginning.
Well, what happened is that you have to count the 3 months from the effective date, not from the date. You can use the LB date as the effective date. There's nothing wrong with that. But in order to create space for that 6 weeks cutoff for new parties, you have to push up the effective date by 6 weeks.
And that is what they didn't do the first time around.
No, and the second time they did not do it either. They said they made a mistake, and when they went the second time, they still made the same mistake.
So it took them 3 times before they got it right.
It's still wrong. Yes, because between the LB date and the dissolution of Parliament, it's 4 months and 7 days. So they tried to fit in the 6 weeks, but they did not understand how to do it.
So then, if it was done the right way, elections would be held sometime in February then?
As a matter of fact, if you want to fix this LB, you have to change the effective date to November the 21st, which means that you then dissolve Parliament on the 21st of February, exactly 3 months later. Now, you have to bear in mind that you have a postulation date. Postulation date is always a maximum of 10 days after the effective date of a LB. So if you put the effective date November the 21st, 10 days later is December the 1st. That's postulation date. What happens when you do that? You give the new parties the 6 weeks, because the cutoff date between December the 1st
Go ahead.
will be October the 20th. So the LB will be dated October the 3rd, and the cutoff date will be October the 20th for new parties to register. That will give them 17 days to register.